Hello again, everybody. I'm Steve Moga, and this is Waubonsee Community College's Sports Spotlight. And it is the end of October. It's been a great fall sports season here at Waubonsee, but the end of October means Halloween, and of course, right after Halloween is November, and that means basketball. And joining me here on our show is Mr. Waubonsee Basketball. I just gave you a new name, a new nickname. Yeah. Dave Heiss, head coach for the Chiefs, and 34th season starting in. First of all, Coach, we've talked about numbers before on here, and I want to talk to you a little bit about yourself here a little bit. But I mean, 33 years at the same school at the college level. Not many people can say that.
No, they can't. And actually, when I took this job back in '86, I thought it would be a stepping stone to lead me into a four-year college. That was my aspirations and goals, and I just settled in here, and still. 33 years later, I'm still here.
33 seasons, yeah. 17 of those 20 or more wins. About 4 or 5 other seasons where you had 19 wins. You were very close to that as well. 628 wins going into this season. 284 conference wins, the all-time winningest coach in the Illinois Skyway Collegiate Conference as well. A dozen championships, 6 times to the Nationals. A lot has changed since you started coaching. What, off the top of your head, you think is the biggest change in the game since your first couple of years of coaching till now?
Probably the three-point line.
They really changed the game that much?
Without question. It extends the floor. You got to get out to shooters, which in turn, will open up the inside game if you have some post players that, can catch the ball and score inside. So, and I think the game has become more up-tempo. Obviously with the shot clock, you can't sit there and stall. So I think from a fan standpoint, it creates more scoring, which is, I think fans like to see that more than they do a low-scoring game.
Since we last were here on the show together, we had the athletic banquet and Hall of Fame induction, which happened to be your team from quite a few years ago. That was a pretty special night. Is that the best team by far that you've ever had and best group of guys?
Maybe. Here's the thing that I've shared with teams and other coaches and other coaches here at Waubonsee in the other sports is that some of my best teams were teams that never made it to the national tournament, and I think you've seen quite a few of those where we were either upset in the championship game of the regional tournament or even the semifinals where we were looking past our opponents. So, they would definitely be right up there with one of the best.
Best player you ever coached?
That's a tough one. Obviously David Bacon was pretty good. He was a first-team All-American. Tyrus Smith out of Flint, Michigan was a good one. He was another first-team All-American. So, we've had a lot of good players. It would be tough to really just, pick one. I think it would be unfair to the other players just to pick one, but we've had some great players that have come through here.
I was going to say one of these days I'm going to have you pick your all-time, your first and second all-time Waubonsee team. That way then you won't offend everybody. You can include at least 10 guys, and if not more. Well, let's talk about last year's team a little bit. You finished another 20-win season, 20-11 overall, but just a little disappointing, 9-5 in the conference. But again, the conference is just every year it seems like somebody different who's at the top, and it is very competitive.
Well, Steve, we were 6 points away from being conference champs. We lost to Lake County on the road by 3, where we were actually up by 2 with the basketball with like 1 minute and 40 seconds to go. And the same thing happened at Morton, and Morton ended up being the conference champs. Up 2 with the basketball again with 1 minute and 35 to go, and just didn't finish. And had we finished those 2 games, we would have been conference champs. So we were right there. We were banged up. I mean, I didn't have kids that I lost for the season, but I had a lot of kids that had nagging injuries, and we had a couple of non-conference games sprinkled in January, February, and then we had some makeup games. And Phil Jacobs, our trainer, said, "Coach, you got to pick. You can either have them in practice or you can have them in games." We had back-to-back weeks where we had 3 games, and I think when you don't have kids practicing, it's the timing and the chemistry, and we didn't do a very good job towards the end of the year taking care of the basketball, and I think a lot of that had to do with the lack of playing time with some of our kids, practice time rather, that were banged up during the year.
The key thing that jumped out at me when you mentioned the 2 very close losses at Morton, on the road, especially in the Illinois Skyway Collegiate Conference, it seems like everybody protects the home court, and it's key to do at least
without question,
not over 500, very well on the road if you're going to have a shot at winning the conference title.
I think had we been healthy, I think we would have won a few more games, but being banged up the way we were and had to some kids had to miss some games because of those nagging injuries, and I thought that you know, the South Suburban game and the regional semifinal game was there for the taking, and you know, we just had too many turnovers and missed too many easy shots against them, and you know, they're a quality team.
Well, I know I'm getting way ahead of myself here, the horse before the cart kind of thing, but Waubonsee will be the host site again for the Region 4 tournament this year. Is that an advantage or disadvantage for you guys? I mean, obviously people would think an advantage, but at the same time, when you're kind of, you have a little bit extra pressure when you're on your own home floor, right?
Well, yeah, I think you might, but I think I'd rather be hosting it and have that extra pressure, because you know, the kids are accustomed to that gym floor. It's just the familiar surroundings, and you know, we don't have to travel. So I think it definitely benefits the team that's hosting it, that they get an opportunity to play on their home court.
Well, we're going to get familiar with this year's team when we come back from this break, but we have to go away here for a short moment. So stay with us here on Sports Spotlight. We're going to talk more Chiefs basketball with Dave Heiss. Don't go away.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning, 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash, 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
Back here on Sports Spotlight, a quick reminder to get more information about Chiefs athletics by going to GoChiefs.com. You can get a link to the NJCAA as well as the Region 4 and the Illinois Skyway Collegiate Conference on there, and a lot of other information about Chiefs athletics. And we were talking basketball here with Dave Heiss. And Coach, I mentioned you know, Halloween, end of October, Halloween. What was your favorite Halloween costume? I wanted to ask you that.
You know what? I don't know, Steve.
You don't remember?
No. Hell, I couldn't even tell you.
Well, nowadays you just scare the players instead.
That's right. That's right.
With
yeah.
your regular costume. Let's talk about this year's team. You got to start with a couple returners. You got Chris Henderson is kind of a power forward, a small forward, and Addison Bodie from Somnock, who's kind of an off guard, shooting guard for you. Those two guys, that's kind of where you start with sophomore returnees, right?
Well, yeah. Chris became eligible second semester last year because he was a transfer. He's a slasher. He kind of that three. Small forward, stretch forward position. He's not a real great three-point shooter. He's more of a mid-range and putting the ball on the floor, getting to the rim. And we're going to throw him into the post this year because of his athleticism. So he'll probably play both 3 and 4 for us. And then Addison Bodie is the off guard. He's probably our best passer. Has a very high basketball IQ. Works extremely hard on the defensive end. He's one of those guys that does the little things for you. And we're hoping he shoots the ball a little better this year because he kind of struggled last year.
You've got a couple big guys inside for sure that should have an impact for you. Josh McCauley from West Aurora is back with the program. You've got another big young man by the name of Jameel Toney from Phoenix, Arizona, who's also a big body. So you're going to be able to bang with some people.
Without question. Obviously, Josh, everyone knows, you know, he's a very skilled big man that can play just about anywhere on the floor. He's capable of shooting a three, capable of putting the ball on the floor, getting to the rim, and you know, he doesn't like going down low, but I think that's where he's going to do a lot of his damage this year because of his length and his athleticism and his skill set. Jameel Toney just kind of fell in our lap. His dad has lived in the area for 9 years, and I didn't see him, but my assistant coach, Coach Shields, saw him kind of like walking through the field house. He and his dad were kind of walking around touring the campus, and Jonathan, you know, stopped them and started talking to those guys, and he came back the next day and worked out one of our open gyms, and Coach Shields called me and said, oh, you know, we got us a big guy. And the strides that he has made so far are pretty impressive, and I think, you know, once again, I shared this with him and his father that, you know, his ceiling is very high, and he's, you know, hasn't tapped any of that yet, and I think he's going to be a fun guy to watch just from the standpoint he's not going to be the same player he is in February as he is in November, December, and we kind of see that every day in practice. We see some steady improvement, and he's 240 pounds. He needs to understand that when he's in the paint. I think he's one of those kids that is very soft-spoken, quiet kid that kind of plays that way, and we'd like to see him be a little more physical.
You've had a couple other guys. You talk about potential. A couple of guys that came from the golf course, from your golf team, who were on the squad as well.
Yeah, Jake had played, at Kalen, was their point guard, and I said, Coach, I'd like the opportunity to show you what I can do. So when the golf season ended, we gave him an opportunity, and he's been a little bit of a surprise. I didn't realize he's very quick, has a very high basketball IQ, can handle the ball, pressure the defender bringing it up, and Coleman Aaron was a big kid inside, but he's kind of that stretch four. He can shoot the three-pointer. Once again, he also has a very high basketball IQ. Need to put up some weight on him because he's a little thin down there trying to bang with the big guys.
Now, your best teams have always had really good point guards, or your offense kind of is controlled by your point guard, runs through them. Who's going to take over that role this year?
Right now we Corey Adams. Corey's a young man out of Mattea Valley. Played more of a two guard for them. For us, he's going to be more of a combo guard. He can play 1 and 2. So I think right now, if we had to pick a starting lineup, he'd probably be our point guard. And then we have Kobe Johnson at 5'7" from De La Salle would be his backup. And there'll be times in the game they'll both be on the floor. So yeah, I mean, you're right. We'd like to see, with our point guard running the show, and this is what I share with our kids. Our offense is going to start from the inside and work its way out, particularly with the big kids we got.
Depth has always been a trademark of a lot of your teams too, because you're one of those coaches who will bring 4 or 5 subs in at one time. You'll utilize 10 guys deep easily. Who are some of the other guys who are going to be coming off the bench?
Well, we've got a couple other guys that are out there. Would be Jacque Orr. He's kind of that kid that's 6'2", can play either guard position. Chris Dixon is a slasher, big physical kid. He's listed at 6'2", but he's got shoulders like a guy that's 6'8", very big and physical. Simeon was a homeschool kid. He's a kid that really knows how to put the ball in the basket, can shoot it, can get to the rim. He's just going to continue to get better. We've got. I'm trying to think who else. We've got so many kids out there that.
Well, that's probably more than enough guys right there. But let me talk to you real quick about this. You're going to start November 3rd. You're going to play Northwestern Club. Always kind of a feel-out thing. You never know what you're going to get with them. But they're going to come into Erickson Hall, and then you're going to play Sandburg on Friday, November 9th at 7 p.m. and Illinois Valley on Saturday, November 10th at 2 p.m. And you get a couple games right there to kind of get your feet wet, get things going, and then you travel out of Harvey on November 7th, and then you got the tape measure game, the measuring stick game, we always say that, November 13th. That's a Tuesday night in Erickson Hall against South Suburban. That'll be a live TV broadcast game, and that one is always the one that you kind of measure where you're at, because they're always at the top, one of the top teams.
I think our first 4 games is going to be a good indicator of where our team is and what we need to work on. Olive Harvey was nationally ranked last year, most of the season. We got to go on the road to play them in the city, and then every year Sandburg and Illinois Valley are 2 really good programs. We got them in our classic, and then we come back the following Tuesday and have South Suburban, who's gone to nationals, I think 10 straight years, and his programs have been a perennial powerhouse and always ranked in the top 5 in the nation.
Well, hopefully you can do some damage early and send a message. Coach, thanks for stopping in. 34th year, Dave Heiss at the helm of the Chiefs basketball program, and Mr. Waubonsee basketball looking to do big things again this season. We got to take a break here in Sports Spotlight. When we come back, we have Jim Williams, the women's head coach, here with us to talk about the ladies' team. So stay with us.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
All right, back here on Sports Spotlight, and it's been a great fall season here at Waubonsee. The men's soccer team clinched a share of the conference title for the third straight year. Women's tennis won the conference title for the second time in 3 years. And volleyball went undefeated and won the conference title, breaking McHenry County's string of 3 straight. So they've won it now 2 times in the last 5 years. They've all done very well. And some other teams have done very well in the last few years, the basketball teams. And joining me now, Jim Williams, the women's head coach. And thanks for stopping in, taking a little time off of work to come in here today. And second year head coach. I had Dave Heiss going into his 34th season. Now you're here, your second season. But obviously last year, I mean, anytime you start up new, you come in, it's going to be a learning experience. But what was you think the biggest thing maybe you took from last season is suddenly going from an assistant coach to a head coaching role? What was the biggest thing as maybe the learning curve for you?
Probably, just handling everything to do with basketball, from ordering some, orders of equipment to uniforms to all that. It's pretty time consuming, but also conditioning in the off season and how much an effort we put into the off season, especially this year.
I've talked about that with other people off the air, other times about coaching. It's not always the X's and O's, it's all those extra things you got to do off the court that really just time consuming and makes your job a little tougher at times. But last year, you had a nucleus of sophomores that made your job a lot easier, and they're all gone now, unfortunately. Right. But had the all-conference trio of Goff and Van Wy and Kempiak. Really were able to build around them last year. Now this year you've got some other returning sophomores, but they didn't have as much playing experience as those 3 and the other sophomores you had last year. It's kind of that rebuilding process almost every year, or at least every couple of years, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially at the junior college level, it makes it kind of difficult because we're always basically recruiting all the time, and it's pretty time consuming as a head coach.
Last year's team unfortunately matched up with Moraine Valley in the first game of the tournament, and that was a somewhat unique situation. Moraine Valley had to forfeit some games during the course of the year. They were really a legitimate #1 seed, and they got dropped down, and unfortunately you guys had to play them first game.
Yeah, actually that was 2 years ago.
I'm sorry, 2 years ago, you're right.
Last year was Morton.
Was Morton, yes, thank you. It started with an M, see there? If you do this so many years, it starts running into each other after a while. You're only your second year away, it'll happen.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, you ran into some teams that were pretty good there toward the end of the year. I mean, you guys were just kind of up and down at times last year, and then, in a one-and-a-done situation, you can't have an off night.
Yeah, and, that's part of our offense as well. We like to shoot it, and we just went cold that last game. But all year long, we really couldn't win like 3 games in a row. Mm-hmm. We would win 2 games, lose a game, win 2 games, lose a game. That was pretty much our rotation all year. We could never get over that hump.
Well, you're going to certainly try and change that this year, and you've got some sophomores to build around again. Emily Uplegger is back, shooting guard from Geneva, and you also got Haley Farron from Yorkville. Kind of starts with those 2. They're going to have to be integral parts of your offense for you, aren't they?
Yeah, they definitely have to be assertive in scoring. Emily's had a little bit of a slow start so far, but I really think she's going to come on. She just needs to constantly gain confidence, and she's just a great kid. Both of them are great kids, and they work awfully hard, and they're both academic All-Americans as well.
Very good students indeed, and that, of course, carries over, I think, a lot of times onto the court. I've never seen anybody not excel in the classroom and actually be really good on the field or on the court. It usually doesn't go hand in hand. If you're doing well in the classroom, you're going to succeed on the floor as well. And you got some other players. I got to mention Kayla Battle. She's with the volleyball team right now as you start the season, but she's going to be a force for you inside.
Yeah, she's got to make an impact as well, and she had a really, really good summer for us. Just did a lot, gained a lot of confidence in herself, and her shots come really a long way to where she was starting to get comfortable shooting it. And last year she just wasn't.
Well, that's, again, offense might be, where are you going to get your offense from? That might be the biggest question for this team. But you do have, besides her as a 6-foot center from West Aurora, you've got some other post players as well.
Yeah.
They're really going to help you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Katie Beebe from Oswego, she's a freshman, very athletic. She can block shots, she can rebound, and she runs the floor extremely well. Best post player I've seen run the floor since I've been here.
Well, she's going to be one of them, and you've also got a couple other big bodies that we're going to talk about in a minute, though. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back in Sports Spotlight, we're going to talk more Chiefs athletics and the Waubonsee women's team in particular, so stay with us. Back here on Sports Spotlight, I want to give a quick shout out to a former high school baseball and basketball teammate of mine, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty, get well, going through some health issues right now, and wish him the best. And here with us, Jim Williams, to talk about the women's basketball team. Of course, we wish you the best as well with this upcoming season. Last year, 18-13 is what you finished, and we talked about the 3 sophomores that are gone, or that were really kind of the nucleus part of that. You had some other role players. And of course, this year's group, every group's got to have some role players and people that are going to contribute. We've touched on very briefly on your couple post players, but you've got more than just Battle, more than just BB down there. You've got a couple other girls with some size that are probably going to have to spell some people at times.
Yeah, Savannah Arend, she'll be a starter, I would have said, pretty most of the year. She's got to understand her role, that she needs to rebound, get some offensive rebounds especially, and some putbacks to get her confidence going. But she'll surprise you every once in a while. She can knock down some shots for us, and she's really, really starting to mold herself into a good player.
Yeah, she made some. You've had a couple scrimmages already. She's made some shots that I saw that was like, looks like a different player from last year. A little more confident.
Yep.
Makes a big difference. And that's, I think, the same thing with Tatiana Smith. I think you're going to see the same thing as the season progresses.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another extremely athletic girl, and she's just finding her own. You know, at Aurora Central, she sort of had to play the post all the time, and she had to play in the middle. And I think this year she's going to be mostly like a 3 and a 4 for us. But as soon as everyone's back, she's going to be mostly a 3.
Point guard or handling the basketball is always, I think, a key, especially the women's side of things, and that might be one area where you've got to figure out who exactly is going to be that person. Alexia, I got to make sure I get her last name right. Nikolai. See, there you go. I already, but she's probably going to be a key for you. Handling the basketball.
Absolutely. Just a hard-nosed kid. Didn't get a chance to play in high school, and really, you know, she came to every workout in the summer that she could. Changed her whole shot, extremely coachable, and again, extremely hard-nosed. She'll battle with anyone.
You also got Jasmine Shepard from East Aurora, another guard coming off the bench.
Yeah, and Jazz is a sophomore, transfer from COD, coming off an ACL injury, extremely athletic, is again, can take the ball to the basket very hard. And we're going to have a constant battle all year because she's going to have open jumpers, and she's got to be comfortable taking those open jumpers. And in the past, she's only drove the ball.
Another player coming off an injury, Maddie K-Wall, could be very instrumental for your team.
She will be. She will be. She's a 1,000-point scorer from Somonauk. She can shoot the ball. She can fill up the net. She's going to have to handle some of the point guard duties to give Alexia break, and there might even be times where the both of them are out there at the same time, and that's always not a bad thing to have 2 point guards out there at the same time to handle the ball. But again, she's coming off an ACL injury as well.
You've got Megan Menzel, who's coming from the soccer team, played last year, was a bench reserve player for you, and Juliet Ortiz also will be coming off the bench.
Yep, Megan has worked very hard for us in the summer. Unfortunately, she hasn't been around us because she's playing soccer, and she's having a great season in soccer. I think she's going to make an impact. I really do this year, and more so than last year. And she's really developed a lot of confidence. Juliet is a girl that sort of fell on her lap, who again is coming off ACL injuries. She tore both ACLs. So she really hasn't played a lot the last couple years, and she just moved into the area. So she is athletic, and she has a very nice shot. She's just got to sort of get back in the flow and learn the game a little bit more.
Well, you got Carla Wiedinghoff as a former Waubonsee player back as your assistant coach. You brought in a couple volunteer assistant coaches in Dave Beebe and Haley Villa. And obviously Haley is also a former player, knows the program. Dave's got a great basketball background. Great to have some assistant coaches like that.
Yeah, absolutely. To have a person like Dave Beebe sit on our bench and add anything that he can, you know, he's got 20+ years coaching girls, and he's just a positive impact. And Haley, you know, Haley got a chance to play with us for a year. Was kind of lost out there, and we're just trying to help her through, and I think this is a good fit for her.
Well, hopefully you get a good fit here and get a good idea what your team is really made up here. As usual, you're playing a tough non-conference schedule. Your first 3 games are all on the road.
Yep.
You know, not to make things easy on yourself. You go to Triton on November 6th. You're at Illinois Valley November 8th, and at Carl Sandburg College all the way out in Galesburg on November 10th before your home opener. Technically, home opener is November 13th against South Suburban, a TV game here at 5 p.m. And then you travel to Blackhawk again before you come home against Northwestern's club team on Saturday, November 17th. That's a 2 p.m. tip-off for that one. And then there's the alumni game after that.
Alumni game, yep.
And that will be something new to have some of the ladies back from previous teams, not only teams that you coached or were assistant coach with, but even previous years when Dana Wagner was still the head coach as well. So that'll be neat.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really fun thing for us to bring some of the girls back from previous years.
It'll be great to show the current players a little bit of the tradition too, and that. So I certainly looking forward to that. Well, Coach, best of luck as we proceed here with the 2018-2019 season. We are almost out of time here on Sports Spotlight. I want to mention that the Lady Chiefs women's soccer team in the Region 4 championship match for the 10th time in the last 11 years will play Moraine Valley. Hopefully Coach Brad Schlemmer's team can get that one done and get over the hump. They have the last few years have fallen to Moraine Valley. Have played them. This will be the 4th straight year those 2 teams have met in the final. But that hopefully we will get to talk about in the next Sports Spotlight show. We're out of time for this one. On behalf of my guest, Dave Heiss, Jim Williams, the entire crew, Jim McGarrah, Chris Foster, I'm Steve Moga. Thanks for watching, everybody. So long.